Okay, moving on to topic 2. We have, coming out of the US mostly, a joint advisory from CISA, the FBI, MS-ISAC, and a few other organizations about the Medusa ransomware gang. I believe it's targeted over 300 organizations, primarily in the critical infrastructure space. So we're talking healthcare, manufacturing, technology, those kind of industries. The definitions there are a little bit different to the Australian definitions, but for the most part, you can think of them as pretty similar. Medusa, your classic ransomware gang, double extortion model. They encrypt the data, they steal the data, and then they try to extort you for the key to decrypt the data and to prevent them from posting it to their leak site. What is your insight into this particular article, Caleb? What are the call-outs for you here?
We've seen Medusa quite a bit in Australia. It's obviously not the same volumes that the United States sees, but we do have a little bit of an insight to what actually happens. And like we call out quite often, it's the small things that matter. So what's externally facing? Do you have remote desktop exposed to the internet? Do you have VPNs exposed as well? And without MFA? That's the main call out from this article. It's not complicated methods of gaining initial access. It's external applications that are exposed and phishing campaigns. So going back to the previous court hearing that they were talking about before, they got in through a zip file that was delivered via an email. Exact same that we've seen with Medusa. These are really important to put in extra security controls. Once they get into your environment, that's even easier to really detect. And you can take this article and you can look at introducing detections within your environment and going, hey, this really stands out from the ordinary. Things like scanning your whole environment using IP scanning. No user should really be conducting that activity, or bypassing defenses with base 64 encoding. Those are really easy detections to make and can detect an attacker in the early stages of the attack.
So we have those really straightforward, easy detections, and I agree. Absolutely, organizations should have things in place to pick those up. Interestingly, though, a call out from this article is that the group has been leveraging legitimate tools and potentially even drivers. Traditionally, we've called this living off the land attacks, where threat actors will use Microsoft mostly tools, sometimes non-Microsoft, but tools that an organization would use for everyday activities within their network. And threat actors will compromise these, utilize these to attack the network and steal what they need. One of the more interesting terms that I saw called out here was BYOVD. Can you explain to our listeners what this acronym means?
Yeah, definitely. So it stands for bring your own vulnerable bring your own vulnerable driver. Apologies for that one.
It's hard because the original acronym is device, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. They've built off of that acronym, and now threat actors are using that. So it's effectively where a threat actor will bring a driver. And what do drivers run as? Well, system level privileges. And when a threat actor is able to abuse those system level privileges, what can they do? Well, they can evade our endpoint detection response solutions. In most cases, what we actually see is actually, interestingly, these vulnerable drivers are deployed in contrast at the same time to the ransomware binary. So you'll see these vulnerable drivers sitting with the ransomware binary, and it'll actually disable your endpoint detection response solutions, and then the ransomware will be deployed across the environment.
So do you mean there that the driver is like integrated into the same executable there, or it's just kind of packaged in a file alongside the ransomware
file alongside, yeah. So separate file, and they come from legitimate software. So usually they will be pulled across, and threat actors will use those legitimate drivers, and they will inject their own code to do their motivation. In this case, evade our detections.
Interesting. So Medusa, obviously very popular ransomware-as-a-service model threat actor. Do you think ransomware-as-a-service will just become more and more popular?
Oh, yeah, we've seen it already. This the last 6 months, it's just on a steep climb, and especially in the Australian market, 2025 has been very active for ransomware as a service, and I think we'll probably see that continuing later in towards the coming year.
Great. So some quick call outs for this particular article in terms of protecting yourself from these attacks. Look, it's nothing crazy. It's nothing new. It's the same old controls that we harp on about most often. Make sure you are mitigating and patching known vulnerabilities, particularly those that are exposed to the internet through things like appliances, firewalls, VPN devices, whatever it might be. Network segmentation and segregation is an important control so that if they do gain access to your network, they don't have just free reign across all your devices. They are restricted to one particular area. And of course, filtering network traffic as well is quite important. We talk about a lot of controls for which endpoints are protected, right? We have EDR devices, we have antivirus on servers. We might be ingesting logs from these appliances, even if it's only syslog, to create detections around them. But another important layer is that network level monitoring, having a device or several devices on your network so that you're watching the traffic flow across your network and picking up on anything malicious that might be traversing it.